Okay, we're back for another video. So what's this one about? Well, I've got a whole bunch of videos on the go simultaneously, so if this seems a little out of order, bear with me. Anyway, my neighbor has just bought a caravan and he's discovering the downfalls of 12-volt incandescent globes. So we're going to try and help him economize his power usage a little bit, and he's trying to do it on a bit of a budget. Now, we have found some globes somewhere that were found LED versions of these globes, the bayonet cap ones, and they're about $45 each. It's not really worth the effort of doing that. By the time we replace all the light globes in that caravan with LED versions, there's a cleaner one. It's probably worth buying a second battery. It's going to be nearly probably $200 or $300. So that we can buy a new AGM battery for that. So what I'm probably going to do here is I'm going to take one of the single types of these after I don't drop it. I've been using sanitizer in COVID lockdown. Anyway, we're going to try and separate the glass from this and use the base on one of these and put some LEDs in it. Now, my big box of spare parts here has some LEDs. Now I have a bunch of assorted different types of 12-volt LEDs. And I have these ones which were supposedly 24-volt, but they run just fine on 12-volt and they run very cold. Now, crucially, I have hundreds of them. They were like 10 cents each. And I have a few other assorted different types. I've got a H1 halogen, and I've got one that I tried fitting some LEDs into as well to make a replacement globe as well. So yeah, what we might do is dismantle a few of these guys and make an array to fit in the base of a bayonet cap globe. Here's what I'm looking for. So let's go and find some bits and pieces and get started. Alright, now the first order of duty here is going to be getting the glass separated from the base here. Now this can be a tricky job. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to heat up the glue around here a bit and try and weaken it slightly. It can help. I've got Stoner Torch Senior here. It doesn't take much with this torch to soften these things. So we're going to give it a bit of a soften. Now I'm going to grip it because the last thing I want is a piece of glass going through my hand. And we're going to try and get on those pegs here a bit and just give it a bit of a twist. It feels like we got it. There we go. There's our globe out, there's our glue dropped out, and there's our base. Now I'll give this one a scrub up and a clean up. This one's obviously been full of water and very hot, so we'll be back once I've given that a clean. Alright, so we're looking at a 3x zoom lens now. We're going to stick this guy in here and probably bring our angle up a little bit. So we've given it a clean up. What we want to do here is we want to try and get a wire into this. Now I have a roll of wire here that is of suitable diameter. This is about 1 mil stuff. We're not running a lot of current through this, so we shouldn't be too much of a problem. We want a little bit of solder here, something like that, and we're going to want our cooling or extraction vent overhead. Now I'm going to try and just heat a bit of solder up here. Soldering iron lead is tangled. Let's see if my soldering iron is hot. It is. Extraction fan. We'll fix that noise up one day. Try and heat this up a little bit, because this is mostly just solder here, and there is actually a hole through here when we get this right. So now I've got that hot. One moment. I had to close the noise attenuation device, aka the door. So now I've got a desoldering tool here, also known as a solder sucker. I'm going to take a couple of attempts at this and just try and clear all the solder out of it. We'll work our way through here until we get down to that hole. Oh, I forgot to prime it. Eventually, if you keep going through multiple iterations, you'll eventually remove all the solder from this. I'm thinking solder wick might have been a better choice at this point. Right, now I've got it nice and flat, I can get a drill bit onto it, so I'm going to hand drill a hole in that. Alright, I have located my hand drill that was MIA for a bit. This is actually about a 3mm hand drill, but will do the job. Just get ourselves through that hole. It feels like we're almost there. Oh, I've peeled the whole arse off it. Now, well, I guess I'm going to have to glue that bit back down. Anyway, give me a moment. Alright, so I've got the stud out of here. It turns out this particular one had been full of water and the stud had rusted through. So what we're going to do is we're going to tin this bit of wire here. Where are we? Tin U first. And take that little bead off it. Right, we're going to thread this through that rear hole, in under here. Hopefully you can see what we're doing. Thread that in there, and then we're going to thread this cap back over, or this stud, and hopefully we can reheat the glue and add some solder into it at the same time. Get it somewhere about there. Okay, that should cool off. Now we have a stud, and it is fairly well stuck in there. I will add some super glue in a moment just to hold that in a little bit better. Now I have one wire in, and the other wire we can take from the inside. Let's figure that out in a moment. Alright, so I'm going to have a look at trying to get the other wire into this. So I think I've managed to scrub out a little bit of the edge in here. A little bit of the, what's the word? I can't think of the word at the moment. Hopefully there is enough flux in this solder to get that bit heated up and bond some solder to it. See how we go. It's not really getting quite hot enough there. We might try a bit of extra heat here. Let's try Mr. Stoner Torch Jr. in a second. We are over off to the hand here. Let's try this. That looks a bit better. Bonded that in nicely. So we'll take another bit of wire over the back here. This is one I didn't tin. So we get a bit of solder. We'll tin the U. And after we've done mucking around with all this, we'll start putting some LEDs in it. Alright. Have a crack in here. Here we go. That's our negative. Alright. So now we've got to disassemble a few of these and start making our array. So let's have a think about how many we might fit in here. I reckon 3 seems to be probably a good way to go at this point. Now these guys have the tiniest little bit of solder under there, just under the tip here, and usually you can get the soldering iron in to remove that, or you can just pry the end off. I found that's the easier option. Give it a wriggle and it pops off. And sit here and if you can get it about right, you can give it a wriggle. There you go, and that just pops off. Alright. And it would appear we've torn the tracks off that one, so I might actually try the gentle method with these ones. Alright, so let's try the gentle method here. This batch have been soldered a little bit better than the last ones. Yep. There we go. That is a little better. A little bit of fresh solder might help. That tip. Let's get in here and soften that, and let's see if we can wriggle it off now. That's better. Alright, I'll do that a couple more times and we'll be back. Okay, so we've got 3 of these out. Now I need to work out the polarity of these and get them correct. So let's position all these things here and get some power to them. Alright, so I've got 12 volt supply over here. We're going to hook one on this side and one on this side, I think. Let's have a look here. Interesting. I just recall these were polarized, so let's try that side and see what we can get happening here. That one lights up, so that's our polarity. Alright, I'll do this 2 more times. Okay, so we've got this glued together and the blue tack removed, and we're going to take a piece of a solid core Cat 5 conductor here, and we're going to use that to link up our terminals at the end, sort of in a bus style. Right, now I'm going to just try and wrap finger around here and run these gently along, strip a bit of copper out, make our bus for the ends. I'm still going to be gentle with this because the glue is still setting, but what we'll do here is take a little bit here and grab the soldering iron in here and knock everything over on the bench. In the meantime, we're going to tack one in the back of that. We'll work our way round. Okay, we're going to fold you on the inside here and we're going to run this one around, and a little bit of solder in here. This can be tricky to try and get footage of. We're going to try and solder you like that. Okay, and we're going to rotate around this way. Blue tack really is wonderful stuff. Now we're going to try and add a bit of solder in here. And roll this one in here, and we'll just join them up again. That will give us a little tail to work with. Not that we'll need it. Right, now we'll do the same thing on the other end. Alright, now for the fun bit. We thread our wires through. So that central wire we know is going to be positive, and so we're going to put positive at the top and we're going to put a negative at the bottom. Now this should all fit in here relatively well, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to feed you over the top of that and through that way, and that should fit in the bottom nicely. I'm hoping that none of these resistors short out in here, but that should be okay. That's going to go in fairly well. Now for the bottom one, I think I'm going to run another wire up and then join them at the top here. I think that's going to be the simplest way to do that. So, and I think I'm going to use a bit of stiff wire here to differentiate the two. So we're going to do you that way, leave it insulated, and put a bit of solder on that. Then we might get into the hot glue, do it 5-minute craft style. That's a hilarious channel. The amount of crap they do in there that just is not, it's just nonsensical. It's formulaic. It fits a formula that fortunately everybody will click on, makes them lots of money, and unfortunately myself included. It's because of how I come to know that it exists. Anyway, little junction on there. So that is our negative wire that goes in. What I think I'm going to do, I'm going to get stuck in with hot glue first. I'll do that off camera, and then we'll wire it up and see if it works. Alright, So here we go, she's hot glued in. Let's find our wires and which one is which. So that appears to be the center wire, and that appears to be the wire off to the side. So that is our negative wire, which connects to that wire there. So let's trim these two like so. Hopefully I didn't do that too short. And give this one a little squeeze. So these are nice brand new sharp flush cutters. Now we should be able to twist them together. Should being the key word there. And we'll give them a dose of solder together on the end. But that doesn't look like that's going to help much. You can tell my financial manager's got back into Warcraft. She's on Discord having a blast tonight. It's alright, it's good to hear her laughing for a change. She's been in pain for a while. She still is, but I think the painkillers are actually working tonight. But alright, we'll put a little bit of heat shrink over that in a minute. Now we'll do our other wire here. I think I'll trim that just I will strip the insulation off, and I'll trim the tail off in a minute. Alright, let's see if we can get this off here. Alright. Let's a bit of this. And it might be a tweezer job for this one. If we can get this around, I'll be able to tuck that in underneath there and just have it hold with the tension there for a minute. And I might be able to tack that in place. Looks like it worked. Okay, well I will put the heat shrink on that in a minute, but I'm going to test this first. Alright, test time. We're going to turn on our 12 volt supply and hook our negative onto the edge here and touch positive on there. Okay, let's see. Oh, that is working. Let's turn number 2. Works. Number 3 works. Alright. Now, I'm going to find a slightly better way to hook this up, and let's turn our overhead lights off and our other illumination off. Let's go monitors off as well. Now it's pitch black. See how well this lights everything up. Well, auto exposure on the camera doesn't really do this justice, but yeah, it's going to work quite well for a light. So let's turn everything back on again here. Alright, so it's going to work. Let's get a little bit of heat shrink. Now, I buy heat shrink in bulk packs from JCar, and I think I'm starting to run out of all the common sizes that I use most often. So yeah, that might do it. A little bit of that. Get this guy. Bit of heat shrink on the top. Alright. And stoner torch. Not too much heat. And give it a snip on the top. We should seal it up. And we can tuck that down below with a pair of tweezers. And that will neaten everything up nicely. And we have a globe. We can insert that into a bayonet cap fitting and have it LED lighting. The only other thing I want to do is see how much current that pulls. Alright, I've got my little mini multimeter here, and I haven't even had to use the 10 amp shunt for this. Let's see, that should be that. I've got to see if I can actually get contact here. These little needle prongs are a problem sometimes. There we go. So we are on the 200 milliamp range. So we are pulling 20 milliamps. Apparently, that is crazy. and they don't get hot at all. Well, because I'm running at about half capacity, because these are designed for 24 volts, so yeah, they run cool. These at 24 volts, they run at about 60 degrees Celsius, so that will probably be a globe that he'll probably never need to replace, which will be good. Now I have to piece together all my multimeter probes, because I have them on my test panel, which, for the record, is this panel up here off to the side that I've got all the banana plugs on. There is an episode about that quite some time ago. I made that about 2 years ago, nearly 3 now. That'll be back in the early videos in my channel if you want to know how that was made. Alright, well, I'm going to pack up the tools. It's not the best looking globe, but it's an experiment. I'll take it over, see if he likes it. If he does, I'll make another one. Anyway, handy. And I'll leave you with the laughter of my financial manager in the background. Hope you've had fun. See you in the next one. And yeah, it'll be fun. Now, just a little bit of bonus content on the end of this. This is the globe we pulled out. I'm going to turn that on. And you'll notice that we are pulling 1.4 amps. And we've got a similar light output for 20 milliamps. Although this is quite warm. But yeah, LED versus incandescent, there's really no competition.